In 1969, a group from the Clarkston, Waterford area got together from a couple different churches and decided that they wanted a Christian camp up north. They purchased the property from the Long Shipping Company. They sold off different parts of the property to pay for the 50 acres, the original 50 acres of camp. And then in 1970 was the first summer.
Camp's going to be something that you're going to remember forever.
It's growing so much that we have to split camps and we have to adjust things. And there's been so many times that we have to buy air mattresses.
You're going to have a great week. You're going to have an unforgettable week.
And it was just like a really powerful moment where everybody, I feel like, was just like so focused on the Lord.
We bring a whole 25-foot trailer worth of resources that we're going to use throughout the week.
And that's kind of how I was exposed to New Life Camp.
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 Are you recording now? Oh.
So the first several summers, there wasn't any full-time staff. It was just used by different churches to come up and use the property kind of as they saw fit. They built some of the first cabins out of the logs around the property, but by 1972, the Motzinger family moved up here as the first directors and became full-time staff. And we're here all the way through Lee and Carol were here through the mid-90s as the directors. Camp really flourished through the 70s and 80s with the groups from the Waterford and Clarkston areas. And then in the mid-90s, it just wasn't utilized as much. The group sizes shrank, and the churches that came were fewer and fewer, and so by 2006, the board was looking for a way to keep camp going instead of shutting the doors. At that time, the River Church in Waterford and Holly area were also looking to take their kids to a camp and make a camp their own. They were making a change at that time, and that's when they got involved in the leadership at the board level changed. In 2006, the River Church got involved. We kind of were starting out all over again, and then through word of mouth, other churches have heard about us and other groups.
At the time, I lived down in Georgia, and the pastor here at the Rock Church that ends up going to New Life Camp had gone to the same college that I went to. And so he was looking for a youth pastor here and happened to go to the school and ask for students and resumes of students who had been there, and happened to call me and interview me over the phone and then bring me up here for an interview, and I ended up here.
Our youth pastor had just left and we had a new one. I grew up with the one before, so it was kind of hard to experience camp without, the leaders that we've had before. It was a whole new system.
They had good relationships with the leaders before me, and they were still around, but not as involved. And so they're kind of hurt, I think, a little bit, but then we were here to stay.
So when things wouldn't go my way, I got really resentful and started, having a few choice words with some people and started, picking fights that way, I guess you could say. So it was just more or less myself just living in the moment and not understanding that things change and it's okay to change. My first time experiencing camp probably would be second grade, third grade. I was real young.
The first time I ever went there, I was in 4th or 5th grade, and we went for there was a war zone themed camp.
I can't even remember. I think I was in middle school because I was supposed to go in elementary school a couple times, but then I would get grounded or something, and then I wouldn't be able to go.
Well, I think I was a freshman in high school. It was my first time at New Life Camp. I had never been to anything like that before, and it's kind of overwhelming at first, but it was really, really cool.
It was back when the River, the Point, Faith, and the Rock had like the mega camp where we all came together, and it was like full, like as full as I've ever seen the camp.
All the churches around here kind of combined it up for a mega camp, we called it. I was a war zone camp, and I was just a little lad.
They had like little trailers that some people were staying in, some of the kids, because they were just at capacity.
It was all Army and all military stuff, and it was sweet. So I remember going there and just being blown away because I'd never experienced anything like that.
They played water Quidditch
How do you remember that?
because it was
So
awesome.
random. I'm just not super like an activity person. I'm not athletic. I'm not good at any of
Her
it.
favorite one is Bible quizzing.
100%. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I crushed at Bible quizzing.
My earliest memories of camp were probably being out at the paintball field, and we would do these little scavenger hunts. We were real little kids, so we weren't doing all the fun, crazy events that the older kids did.
I remember having a decently good time, not as good as the other times that would come. I remember there being like a paintball game where the leaders would just shoot the kids with paintball guns while we were trying to like get to this flag, and I thought that was kind of weird. I didn't like that game.
At that time, the leaders were actually the ones shooting the students. We were trying to run through this course, and they were pelting us with these paintballs.
I've been going to camp now. It's been, oh my gosh, getting close to 20 years. Wow. How is that possible?
I went to youth camps at a different camp growing up, and then at New Life, I was 20. Let's see, I'm 33 now, so that's 12 years ago.
I remember very specifically one year, we didn't have like the walled-in chapel, but we had kind of like this big top tent in the back that we went into, and inside it was all built like a circus arena, and then there was like, what do they call that at the circus?
The ring.
Yeah, the ring. There was like where the band was, and I just remember the worship being super awesome.
I don't remember a ton about it, because I was so young. But I do remember wanting to go back.
As the years went by and I grew up in church and I was a part of that camp in a way as a camper, what I did is I grew and I wanted to become more and introduce myself into the role of a counselor. So when I came to the Rock, I became a youth leader.
I became involved in Kids Rock, or the kids ministry, whatever they call it now.
I got thrown in as a leader. Brian said he needed some help, and that was crazy. I think I lost my voice in like the first 48 hours.
You almost always lose your voice at camp.
I've gotten better, but yeah, it got really, really bad there.
2012 to 2015, those are probably the best years that I remember. A lot of fun activities, a lot of fun memories.
Then, aged my way into the middle school and youth group and stuff like that. It was offered to the youth kids, and so eventually I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go to that because that's what all my friends who are here are doing. So
I was interning at the church, and kind of as part of that was just like, and you're going to camp and you're doing everything at camp and you'll be a leader there. So that's how I ended up there as a leader. And then over the years, my role has kind of changed, and I have been a cabin leader, and now I mostly just do the worship leading, but awesome. It's all awesome to be a part of it with the kids that are up there. So,
and then with becoming a youth leader, they have every year, twice a year, a winter and a summer camp, and that allowed me to finally fulfill that role as a counselor. And so it was all ingrained for me from when I was an elementary kid in 4th and 5th grade, and then just growing and becoming a counselor by being a youth leader here at the church.
I think that my favorite year was Fortify, which was the first year that I was a leader. I was very excited to be a leader because I could do all those things I couldn't do before. It was like a week of uninterrupted fun and hanging out with my friends.
Fortify? That was 2014. I remember that. So that was a long time ago. I don't have very many distinct memories from that other than the stage design being a castle and having to climb down a sono tube to stuff a TV in it to make it look like a castle pillar.
The food is real rough. One year I was working at the elementary camp and this kid named Cedric said it best. "Why is the bacon so thin?" It's Gordon food, you know, it's not the best food, it's camp food.
I think that for someone like me who has ate the same camp style food for the last, 10 weeks every year for the last 10 years, I think we serve pretty decent food.
Some of the food's great. Like, I'll eat the cinnamon rolls all day.
Breakfast, they have cereal.
Breakfast
we love
is
cereal.
good, and eggs are good. It's just, I'm not a fan of BLTs.
And it's just a lot of like potatoes and pizza and like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Kids love it, but at some point your metabolism stops and you don't want that anymore.
yeah, like I need some protein.
Right.
Being in a different element, having these people that aren't your parents telling you what to do all the time, I kind of had an authority problem. And also you are exhausted all the time because you're playing a bunch of games, you're staying up late every night, and when you're in middle school or high school and you get really tired, sometimes you get on edge. And so it's just kind of grueling if you're a camper, but like in the best way, because you're having the most fun you're going to have basically all year. That was probably my favorite one. That's the one that I remember in my mind as being like, oh man, that was some of the best times.
Early on, I was more just tech production. That was it. I never interacted with the kids. I never had any ambition to. I never wanted to. Over the years, I started growing some relationships with some of the students. So I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. The Film Fest is definitely my favorite by far. Nothing comes second.
When I was a child, when I first learned how a camera worked, basically, me and my little brother started making like stupid little videos and stuff like that. And we'd actually do it with Donnie and Jacob Rossitano. We'd make videos with them. When I was in high school, that's when the Film Fest started. I was Tsunami Man in my first one when I was in high school, which was a superhero that could control water, kind of. We did a Truman Show type video, but we call it the Buchanan Show.
You disgust me, you know that? Look at your computer, you see that? He knows that we're watching him.
You'd hope you'd have one kid who was into audio, video stuff who would actually take control. So our videos ranged from a silent film because the kids never hit the button to record the audio, to the greatest one ever, Titanic.
My favorite out of all of them is when we did the Titanic, and I had my famous role as Rose.
I'm king of the world!
We did a Walking Dead type thing. I was like a Yoda character that they had to go find in the woods and teach them how to slay zombies.
Never sneak up on a man who's been in a chemical fire.
Then I played a blind man that his house got broken into by some other hooligans, broke into my house and were trying to steal something.
That is my signed Brian A. Mott Premium Baseball. I need that.
Purge was good, we did that one.
This is your emergency broadcast system. Commencement of the annual purge, sanctioned by Brian Mott.
Let us in, please. We just want to purge.
There's one that had like Greg Paul in a tutu and Pastor West was in it, skipping down a lane. It was, dude,
There's been some
it's
dumb
really
stuff.
weird. Like now in hindsight, you'd never see either one of them in a video.
What did you not see me skip?
I'm sorry,
I was following the gravelly dirt road, and I'm trying to get to the wizard so I can get home out of the land of Mott to new life.
Oh man.
Towards the end of my high school career, I not only edited my team's video, I actually ended up helping to help all the other teams, just because editing time and experience that other people didn't have with editing. I got to meet a few kids that are now serving on the production team back at the main campus, so it's cool to just be doing a job and you know, all these other kids get to see you do that job and how it works and how beneficial it is for the whole organization. When they started taking Film Fest away slowly is when I not enjoy camp as much, because I thought the Film Fest was a event on Monday that we could all go out and film, and then Friday comes and we're sitting there getting to watch all the films at the Film Fest, you know.
Mine was going to be the leader karaoke's that we used to do. I remember one time we brought a moped up in a fur coat.
Yep.
So that could be Macklemore. We don't do those anymore, but
Yeah.
I love those.
So the year before, there had been a short rules video where they had rewritten Party Rock Anthem to contain all the rules. And it was like Sean, Lindsay, and Brian. I think it was those people. That was fun. I thought that was super funny. And then I became a leader, and I had some background in video stuff and music stuff. So I think that I either volunteered to kind of make a rules video, or they were like, hey John, you can probably do this. Make a rules video.
Hey there, campers. DJ BM Farts here with an exciting offer you're not going to want to pass up.
It was so fun. We would just like sit in my room and like popular songs, be like, what if we did this? And oh my gosh, like we would just laugh and come up with the dumbest stuff.
And then one of the songs would correlate to a rule.
Oh, don't you dare do that. Just keep your hands off me. You said nobody knows. I said shut up and don't touch me.
So me and Lindsay worked really hard on all those songs, rewriting them and recording them in the back of her car in the middle of the night because we couldn't be loud in the house. So we would go sit in the back seat of her car and record them. And it just kept growing and growing into like this weird, really weird action movie type thing.
Chris?
If I don't teach them the rules, who will?
It actually got to a certain point where I was like, we need to cut back on some of this stuff because it's getting too crazy.
Can't leave the fans waiting. See you on the other side there, campers.
And then the last year, we didn't really have time to make a video, so we did a live performance of a lot of the songs with me, Donnie, and Lindsay, which was really funny.
We're all here for one reason. Well, a lot of reasons. But most importantly, to have fun with Brian Mott, right?
I think the kids loved it. The leaders had a good time. They were stressed because it was a lot on the leaders, but it all came together, and I think like anybody that was there felt like, what is going on? This is awesome.
I stopped going to the Rock in December of 2018, started going to the Village in January of 2019. I kept feeling God pulling me over to start attending the Village. But I didn't want to because my family was at the Rock. All my friends were at the Rock. I had played the drums at the Rock for 10 years at that point. Things started to fall apart because I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Tensions with people started to rise. I lost a relationship that I was in, and I truly felt like Jonah running away from his calling at Nineveh. You know, things were being taken away from me. Things were getting harder because I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I had been looking for opportunities to lead more because I was feeling a calling for that. So I'd been praying for opportunities to lead worship more. I go to a church called First Baptist Church of Holly, and I've been doing it for like 13 months now.
Every time I think of camp, there's kind of one specific area, and it's just our chapel times. And the reason why is because we bring these kids in. There's 150 or something kids that just sprint into this place, and there's music and lights, and we dance and we hang out and we're laughing. And it's in those moments that we just have all this excitement. And then I also get to play the drums there as well. And so we bring these kids in with excitement, and then we shift it right over into worship when we get to play some more fun songs. And I have a very unique point of view because I get to sit up on stage and I get to look out and I see every kid's face.
I can see everybody during the chapel session because I'm on the stage, and so to just really watch how throughout the week they kind of just like, what everybody says, let the walls break down, like break down the walls of, you know, whoever they're trying to be, or, you know, it's hard being a teenager and you feel like I gotta be cool and do people like me?
And so most people are in it or behind it, but because I get to watch these faces of the kids, it's just crazy because I can tell, I can almost like, just by looking, I can say that person is thinking this. I can tell what they're dealing with. I can tell if they're in it, if they're distracted, if they're focused. I can tell if they love what's going on.
We have our huge chapel, which is just awesome, and just a great time. Like, it's interesting to watch each group kind of transform that into different things that they can use it for. So, you know, it's that time of worship, it's that time of getting into God's Word, but it's also that time of games. It's also that time of discipling the young ones and just having those small groups. That building becomes very versatile, really.
Kids are like exposed to a lot more now.
Right.
And are just have like a lot of, like their brains never turn off. They can constantly see what everybody is doing everywhere. And I think that can lead to like a lot of anxiety and depression that kids deal with and things like that. Just like, we don't need to know everything that we know all the time. Like years ago, you wouldn't have known what was happening on the other side of the world or another part of the country. Like the world has become small almost because you can know everything anywhere. And I don't know that like we're wired to be able to handle that well, if that makes sense.
I think we're showing we're not.
Yeah, I think it's proof that we aren't able to handle it well. They have access to the world and the world has access to them.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always been that way, and I think that does make it harder.
A big struggle that teenagers face is temptation. And so we teach a lot about what the Bible teaches about how to use the Holy Spirit and the Bible and the principles within the Bible to overcome temptation, to live a life that is free from this desire to do things that will harm your life. One of those things that is very harmful, not only to our life, but also is just disrespectful to human beings in general, is pornography.
For many kids who can easily access porn from their computers and even smartphones, it can go well beyond just a dirty habit and become a dangerous one.
Casting down every imagination, every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. That is something that I've needed to do because of my addiction to pornography.
I'm not going to be addicted to pornography.
A new study found that most kids are seeing adult material online at the age of 12, but many of them are actually 10 or even younger.
Listen, it's not funny when you're stuck in sin and you guys are, this is it. This is your poison. I don't know what it is. Is it porn?
You're gonna get pregnant, and you're gonna get an STD, and you're gonna get an addiction to a drug and pornography. You're gonna get all of those things, and you're gonna wonder why your life is a mess. You're gonna deal with all of the struggles of the flesh.
New online addiction skyrocketing among teens.
It's not alcohol or drugs, it's porn. Hardcore porn video. Just right on my phone for anybody to access.
We get on our phone, we get on our computer, we look at pornography, we disrespect our parents, we fight and yell with our brothers and sisters. We have bitterness in our heart towards people.
Also developing, a teen accused in a disturbing crime that started hundreds of miles away is now in a Florida jail. Orlando police say he sent inappropriate messages to a 13-year-old girl online and then threatened to kill several officers.
You don't have to lie, you don't have to cheat, you don't have to hide things, you don't have to have anxiety. If you just don't care, I want to pray for you. I want to be here for you. The leaders want to be here for you. That's what this week is. We are here to grow, serve, and carry one another's burdens.
We face an attrition rate of these kids that don't come back.
I mean, I don't know about immediately, but because the following week is usually our Lake Day event and they want to go to that. But there's been a lot of kids that I've had as campers that I've never seen again after the summer.
There's many kids that come back every year and they experience it and they have a great time. But once they graduate, there's a massive drop-off. And I'm not saying that's bad, but what I am saying is there is a disconnect for some of the kids that leave the church in general after they graduate and get out on their own. Some of it's, some of it's normal. They get a job, they go to school. But there is a big issue with kids. Once we say congratulations on graduating high school and we send them out the door, a lot of them we barely ever hear from again. So yeah, I would say there's a lot of people that don't ever experience this.
You can spend an entire week here and walk away and not have any friends. You know how I know that? Because for the last 3 years, there's been about 140 to 150 kids in this room. And you saw how many new timers, first timers were in here? That means that many people didn't come back to camp this year. Let's get their phone numbers. Start talking. Start texting. When you're having a hard day, say, hey, can you pray for me in this area? And man, will they. You need somebody. If you've ever seen anybody in a gym train, they've got this physical trainer person, right? And you're sitting there and you're on the bench and you're pushing up and you can't get that 300 pounds up. And that guy is sitting there saying, you can do it. You can do it. You guys can do it. Don't leave camp again. Walk away. It's not worth it.
And so I think some kids don't come back because they realize their life has to change. Some kids come to the realization that if they're going to continue to live a Christian life, then they've got to give up the friends that are leading them into sin, that they've got to change the activities they do, the environment they're in, the people they're with.
In some sense, it's me. You know, I'm the biggest problem in some ways when it comes to that because I still struggle with a lot.
Like I'll see kids now like on social media and I'll go, oh my gosh, like what happened? You know, it's just, that's the hardest part.
I can see where a lot of kids would go up there, would experience it, would have maybe even have a good time, but then would never come back because one little thing. I'd probably only ever leave camp if the organization I was with lost its way. They didn't have the right principles. They didn't have the right foundations. That's probably the main reason I would leave. Moving, finding a different church, camp closing.
He always says we'll never leave this state unless God tells him in a burning bush.
I was like, it would take something that dramatic for me to be willing to leave Michigan. I'll visit every other state. I just want to live in this one.
So how do we combat that? Well, with that, we have shifted our model. So we try and develop relationship with these kids that over 5 to 6 days of camp, they will have this unique relationship with other kids or with leaders that allows them to feel connected to.
So we have 200 beds, and so in years past we've had groups like the Rock Church that have outgrown that. So they just have so many students that they can't fit everybody into 1 week, and so they've split into a middle school and a different high school a week, and it's been really good for us. I mean, I think you can definitely on their end preach to middle schoolers differently than you can high schoolers. You can be a bit more intentional and serious with high schoolers than you can with middle schoolers.
And so I think that it's going to be really beneficial because not only is it a sign of like what God's doing through camp, but it also, I think that even like the teaching and the activities and the worship are going to be able to be more tailored to each age group.
We're going to be able to start to do things just a little bit better, than we were doing it before. So we're doing maid service every day for every weekend group that comes in.
I think it's improving in just different ways, different, better studies with the kids.
We used to fly by the seat of our pants, and now we're very planned out and organized.
But over the past couple of years, we've sold out multiple times, and so I'm not sure what solution that is, but I would say that the direction we're going, I would say don't change anything. Just keep preaching the gospel, keep making these kids excited, and just bringing on the best camp ever.
The new chapel is massive. Even if they didn't get new cabins, we would have been maxed out anyway because there's no way Brian could fit everyone into that one horizontal chapel once they built that T at the end.
I see camp expanding and growing. I'd love to get more bed spaces. I'd love to get a bigger dining hall. I'd love to get more meeting spaces, and I think that takes time, and that's not going to happen overnight. But I think as long as we stay faithful to the Lord, He will continue to bless the ministry of New Life Camp.
We were able to make it through COVID, which was a strain on many camps, and many camps closed.
We spent every day reading through legislature, trying to interact with people that are stuck at home and try and bring the love of camp to them was definitely very hard to do during COVID. with our marketing. We really kind of revamped our marketing, and that's kind of primarily what I focus a lot of my time on. It's been really fun to just kind of create a brand for New Life Camp and just kind of capture camp on social media and different things like that. It's just a super cool.
We had half the kids for about a third of the kids for half the amount of time. And yet we've had our biggest years ever after COVID in the camp's history. That's helped us move forward.
So, what are some of the plans that you have for camp going forward?
How long do you have?